Marcus Grant had been working at Pinnacle Dynamics for 7 years. Every day, he arrived at 5 a.m., long before the tech bros and their cold brew coffees flooded the glass-walled offices. He pushed his cart through the sprawling campus, cleaning floors, emptying bins, and wiping down conference rooms where million-dollar deals were struck. Marcus was invisible to most, just another face in a blue jumpsuit, but he carried himself with a quiet dignity. He wasn't one for small talk, but his eyes held a sharpness, a kind of knowing that came from years of observing the world around him. Pinnacle Dynamics was a titan in the tech world, a company that churned out AI software and self-driving car tech faster than its competitors could blink. At the helm was Ethan Caldwell, a 38-year-old wunderkind who'd built his fortune on bold moves and sharper words. Ethan was the kind of CEO who thrived on attention, his charisma as polished as the marble floors Marcus mopped. He drove a 1967 Porsche 911S, a cherry-red classic worth more than most employees' annual salaries. It was his pride, his status symbol, parked front and center in the executive lot for all to see. That Monday, the Porsche wasn't purring like it usually did. Ethan had pulled into the lot, the car sputtering and coughing like it was on its last breath. A crowd of employees lingered nearby, drawn by the commotion. Ethan stepped out, his tailored suit crisp, his face a mix of irritation and embarrassment. He popped the hood, stared at the engine, and muttered something about useless mechanics. That's when he spotted Marcus, pushing his cart toward the building's entrance. "Hey, you!" Ethan called out, his voice cutting through the morning air. Marcus paused, turning slowly. "Yeah, you janitor. You're good at fixing things, right? Mopping floors, scrubbing toilets. Must be a genius with a wrench, too." The crowd tittered, a nervous ripple of laughter. Ethan's tone was sharp, laced with mockery. "Fix this car and it's yours. How's that sound?" Marcus didn't flinch. He met Ethan's gaze, his face unreadable. The employees shifted uncomfortably, waiting for Marcus to back down, to mumble an excuse and shuffle away. Instead, he set his mop against the cart, wiped his hands on his jumpsuit, and walked over to the Porsche. "Let me take a look," he said, his voice steady, almost soft. Ethan smirked, crossing his arms. "Go ahead, Einstein. Show us what you've got." Marcus leaned over the engine, his hands moving with purpose. He didn't rush, didn't fumble. He studied the tangle of wires and components like a surgeon assessing a patient. The crowd grew quiet, the air thick with anticipation. Ethan's smirk faltered as Marcus reached for a toolbox left by the mechanic who'd given up earlier. He pulled out a wrench, a screwdriver, and a small flashlight, working with precision that seemed out of place for a man in a janitor's uniform. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Marcus didn't speak, didn't acknowledge the whispers around him. He adjusted a hose, tightened a bolt, and traced a wire to a small black box under the hood. With a quick twist of his screwdriver, he popped it open, revealing a frayed connection. He spliced the wire, reconnected it, and closed the hood with a gentle click. "Try it now," Marcus said, stepping back. Ethan, caught off guard, hesitated. He slid into the driver's seat, turned the key, and the Porsche roared to life, its engine purring smoothly, no trace of the earlier sputter. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some clapping, others exchanging wide-eyed glances. Ethan's jaw tightened, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. He stepped out, his face a mask of disbelief. "How the hell did you do that?" he demanded. Marcus shrugged, wiping his hands on a rag. "I've fixed worse." The truth was, Marcus Grant was no ordinary janitor. Born in Oakland, he'd grown up in a neighborhood where you learned to fix things, cars, bikes, radios, or you went without. His father had been a mechanic, his mother a nurse who could stretch a dollar further than anyone. By the time Marcus was 15, he was rebuilding engines in his dad's garage, tearing apart old Chevys and bringing them back to life. He dreamed of owning his own shop one day, but life had other plans. A bad investment, a string of medical bills, and a divorce had landed him at Pinnacle, mopping floors to make ends meet. But his hands never forgot what his mind had learned. Ethan, still processing, laughed, a short, sharp sound that didn't reach his eyes. "Well, damn. I wasn't serious about the car, you know. Just a joke." Marcus nodded, his expression unchanged. Figured as much. He picked up his mop and started back toward his cart, the crowd parting for him. But something shifted in Ethan. Maybe it was the way Marcus walked away, unbothered, or maybe it was the weight of the employees' stares. Their whispers now tinged with respect for the man they'd barely noticed before. "Wait!" Ethan called out. Marcus stopped, turning slightly. Ethan hesitated, then pulled the Porsche's keys from his pocket. "A deal's a deal. You fixed it. It's yours." The crowd went silent. Marcus looked at the keys, then at Ethan, searching his face for a catch. There wasn't one, or at least not an obvious one. He took the keys, his fingers brushing against Ethan's palm. "Appreciate it," he said simply, and walked away, leaving the CEO standing there, the center of attention for all the wrong reasons. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through Pinnacle. By lunch, it was the talk of the cafeteria, the break rooms, the Slack channels. Employees who'd never spoken to Marcus before started nodding at him in the halls, offering small smiles. Some asked him about cars, others about his life, curious about the man who'd humbled their untouchable CEO. Marcus answered in his usual quiet way, never boasting, never lingering on the moment. Ethan, meanwhile, couldn't escape it. The story followed him into board meetings, where executives chuckled behind their hands. It clung to him at industry galas, where competitors whispered about the janitor who'd outsmarted him. He tried to laugh it off, framing it as a generous gesture. But the sting was there. He'd underestimated Marcus. And it cost him more than a car. It cost him a piece of his carefully crafted image. Marcus didn't drive the Porsche right away. He left it in the lot for a week, letting it sit as if testing whether Ethan would change his mind. When he finally drove it home, the sight of a janitor behind the wheel of a $200,000 car turned heads. He didn't keep it long. Marcus sold the Porsche quietly, using the money to pay off his debts and enroll in night classes for an engineering degree. He'd always wanted to design cars, not just fix them, and now he had a shot. Months later, Pinnacle's annual gala rolled around, a black-tie affair where the company's elite mingled with clients and investors. Ethan, as always, was the star of the show, his speech polished and his smile dazzling. But halfway through the night, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Marcus had arrived, not as a janitor, but as a guest, invited by a senior engineer who'd heard about the Porsche incident and taken a liking to him. He wore a rented tux, his posture relaxed but confident. People approached him, shaking his hand, asking about his studies, his plans. Ethan watched from across the room, his champagne flute untouched. Marcus never spoke of the incident directly, but it lived on in the company's lore. It became a cautionary tale for some, a story of triumph for others. Ethan never mocked another employee again, and Marcus? He kept mopping floors until he graduated, then took a job at a rival firm, designing systems for electric vehicles. The Porsche was long gone, but the moment it represented, a quiet man's victory over arrogance, stayed with everyone who'd witnessed it. Years later, when Pinnacle Dynamics hit a rough patch and Ethan's leadership came under scrutiny, people still talk about that Monday morning. They talk about the janitor who fixed a car and, in doing so, fixed a little piece of the world's unfairness. Marcus Grant didn't need a Porsche to prove his worth, but for one fleeting moment, it sure felt like the world noticed.